In this section we will talk about seeds and fruits. So seeds which we are talking about contains what? They contain seed coat, embryo and the cotyledon. These cotyledon are nothing but the seed leaf. We can divide the plants into two types on the basis of the cotyledon. This you have already studied in 10th and 11th standard, that is dicot plants and monocot plant. Dicot plants have two cotyledon and monocot plants have a single cotyledon. Now in dicot plants also we can divide two types of seed formation. One is the endospermic, spermic, and other is non-endospermic. What was endosperm? Endosperm was nothing but when the male gamete united with the two polar nuclei inside the central cell, what was formed? Because of the triple fusion of the haploid cells, a triploid endosperm was formed which further will provide nourishment to the developing embryo. So in some dicots, after the embryo formation, this endosperm will remain, and so these seeds are called endospermic seeds, or we can call them as albuminous seeds. And in some, this endosperm will not be there, and so they are called X-albuminous seeds. Now the example of endospermic seeds, you can say the example of endospermic seeds can be castor, and non-endospermic seeds are pea, groundnut, beans, etc. So in dicots we have two types of seeds, that is endospermic and non-endospermic. The other name for endospermic seeds is albuminous seeds, and non-endospermic is X-albuminous seeds. Here when endosperm is not there in the seed, we call them as non-endospermic seeds, and when endosperm is present we call them endospermic or albuminous seeds. The example are castor, and here example non-endospermic seeds we have example pea and groundnut. Now when we talk about monocots, we also have two types, which is endospermic and non-endospermic. Now here the monocot, when we see the cotyledon of monocot, it's very thin and papery. So, and they are also not having endospermic seeds, so the germination period of that particular plant will be very short. So example here we can give of orchid. In endospermic monocots we have example, that is wheat, maize, etc. Okay, so the seeds can be divided into endospermic and non-endospermic in both what? Dicot and monocot plant. Now we come to fruits. Now we know that fruits are of three types. As we have already learned in morphology, fruits we can divide it into three types. Can you tell me? First is the simple fruit. Second is aggregate fruits, and the third one is a composite fruit. We are not going in the detail of these type of fruits, as you already have learned, and I'll also give you one question where you have to define these kind of fruits, so you will get a quick recap as you will read in your 11th standard. Now there are special type of fruits which are called parthenocarpic fruits. When fruits are formed without fertilization, I repeat, when fruits are formed without fertilization, these are called parthenocarpic fruits. Now these fruits are also called seedless fruits. Why? Here we can say that when there is no fertilization, there will be no formation of embryo. So when no embryo is formed, there will be no seed, and so these fruits are also called as seedless fruits. Naturally occurring parthenocarpic fruit, we also have naturally occurring parthenocarpic that is banana, and you can also induce this formation of seedless fruits in some, and you have already seen that in grapes. So in grapes this formation of seedless fruit is induced. So how we can induce this parthenocarpic formation of parthenocarpic fruits? That is, you can use growth hormones, specifically auxin and gibberellins. Gibberellins you can use for this grape, that is the entire pome family. You can use that gibberellin. When dusted or when given this gibberellin, there will be formation of seedless fruits, and you can use auxin for tomato. So parthenocarpic fruits are nothing but the fruits formed without fertilization. There is no fertilization, and because there is no fertilization, there will be no formation of embryo, and hence these fruits are also called as seedless fruits. Okay. Asexual reproduction. We have already talked about asexual reproduction in first chapter. So asexual reproduction can be divided into two parts when we are talking about plants, that is vegetative propagation, and a new term is apomixis. It's what? It is apomixis. So apomixis is a special type of reproduction that is taken out, that is done by a specific means, that is agamospermy. So we can say that this is a kind of asexual reproduction This is a kind of asexual reproduction in plants by a specific means, that is agamospermy. By a specific means, that is what? Agamospermy. This agamospermy has three types. That is, we can say that agamospermy is nothing but the formation of embryo from an unfertilized ovule. Okay. Agamospermy is nothing but the formation of an embryo from an unfertilized ovule. Now this agamospermy is of three types. So the first one is called adventive polyembryony. The first is called adventive polyembryony. What does that mean? What does that mean? Polyembryony. You can see from the word that polyembryo means many embryos will be formed. So when embryo develops without fertilization from diploid cells of nucellus or integuments, we say that this is nothing but adventive polyembryony, and this is a type of agamospermy. So what happens in adventive polyembryony? That embryo develops from the diploid cells of nucellus or integuments. The example here is nothing but citrus fruits. Here you can observe that when you will squeeze a seed from a orange, and when you will remove the outer layer of that seed, you will see pieces of the seed. So that pieces are nothing but the embryo, many embryo that are formed by adventive polyembryony. So adventive polyembryony is nothing but when embryo develops from the diploid cells of nucellus or integuments. Okay. The second one is what? Recurrent agamospermy. Recurrent agamospermy. The second one is recurrent agamospermy. Here the embryo is formed from the diploid mother cell, that is MMC. Here the embryo develops from the diploid mother cell. You already know what is MMC, that is MMC. Diploid means the two-end condition. So in recurrent agamospermy, the embryo will develop from the diploid mother cell, that is megaspore mother cell. The third type of agamospermy is non-recurrent agamospermy. Here in non-recurrent agamospermy, the embryo develops from haploid unfertilized egg. What? The embryo develops from haploid unfertilized egg, and this can also be called, as you already studied, a means of asexual reproduction, that is parthenogenesis. As we saw that parthenogenesis was nothing but the development of embryo from the unfertilized female egg, and here also we are talking about the ovule. So when embryo develops from haploid unfertilized egg, this is called parthenogenesis, and this is called non-recurrent agamospermy, which is a type of agamospermy. In your textbook in NCERT, this adventive polyembryony example is given. Okay, then so you have to remember this. So when we talk about asexual reproduction in plants, two means are there. One is vegetative propagation. You have already seen the examples like offset, tuber, runner, and the second is apomixis. Apomixis is the asexual reproduction in plant by a specific means, that is agamospermy. Now this agamospermy can be divided into three types, that is adventive polyembryony, recurrent agamospermy and non-recurrent agamospermy. Okay. Embryo. Embryo develops at the micropylar end of the embryo sac where the zygote is situated. The zygote gives rise to a proembryo and subsequently to the globular, heart-shaped and mature embryo. This embryo can be categorized into dicotyledonous embryo and monocotyledonous embryo. So, we are going to talk about dicotyledonous embryo. A typical dicotyledonous embryo consists of an embryonal axis and two cotyledons. As there are two cotyledons, we have given the name as dicot. And cotyledons are nothing but seed leaf. The portion of embryonal axis above the level of cotyledons is called the epicotyl, which will terminate into the stem tip, that is also called plumule. The cylindrical portion below the level of the cotyledon is hypocotyl, as you can see in the diagram, that terminates at its lower end in the radicle or root tip. The root tip is covered with the root cap, and this root cap has a protection function, that is, it will give protection to the developing meristematic tissues of the root. Now we come to the monocotyledonous embryo. As you can see in the diagram, it only possesses one cotyledon. In the grass family, the cotyledon is called scutellum, that is situated towards one side. So you can see on the top of the picture that scutellum is given, and this is the cotyledon, and on the lateral side of the embryonal axis. At its lower end, the embryonal axis has the radicle and root cap enclosed in an undifferentiated sheath called coleorhiza. The portion of the embryonal axis above the level of attachment of scutellum is called the epicotyl. The epicotyl has the shoot apex and a leaf premodia enclosed in a hollow foliar structure, the coleoptile. So we'll say that the root in monocot is protected with the help of coleorhiza, and the shoot in the monocot is protected with a specific structure, that is coleoptile. So both you have to keep in mind, one is coleorhiza and coleoptile, and you can say that R for root, so you can say that coleorhiza because R is coming, so it gives protection to the root. You can remember this thing in this way. Artificial hybridization. A breeder is always interested in crossing different species and often genera to combine desirable characters to produce commercially superior varieties. Artificial hybridization is one of the major approaches of crop improvement program. In such artificial hybridization experiments, it is important to make sure that only the desired pollen grains are used for pollination, and the stigma is protected from contamination, that is, from unwanted pollen. And this artificial hybridization can be achieved by emasculation and bagging techniques. Now, if the female parent bears bisexual flowers, removal of anthers from the flower bud before the anther dehisces using a pair of forceps is necessary, and it is referred to as emasculation. So emasculation means when the plant is bearing bisexual flowers, with the help of forceps or with the help of pair of scissors, we remove the anther before it dehisces. Okay. Now the emasculated flowers have to be covered with a bag of suitable size, generally made up of butter paper, to prevent contamination of its stigma with unwanted pollen. Now here in bisexual flower, we have already removed the anther, and we'll cover the stigma with the help of a butter paper so that there is no contamination. Now this covering with the help of butter paper is called as bagging. When the stigma is bagged, and after it attains receptivity, the desired pollen which we are having, that is the mature pollen grains which are collected from the anthers of male parent of our choice, are dusted on the stigma and the flowers are rebagged, and so the fruits will develop. Now in the diagram you can see that this is a bisexual flower. So with the help of scissors, what we are doing, we are removing the anther. Now after removing anther, we'll cover this with the help of butter paper, and when we will have our desired pollen, we will dust the pollen with the help of a brush on the stigma. And now after dusting our pollen, we'll again rebag the flower to prevent any further contamination. So in this way we can do our artificial hybridization.